threats. We live in our world of freedom of speech. So we counter his vile stupidity with reason and with speech. That's what we do in America. And we have survived vermin like him before. The country has survived rabble-rousers. The country has survived provocateurs. And we must not lose our heads, and in so doing, lose our nation. It's that simple. The good thing that came out of this is a few good things. One, we learned that there are many Muslims in this country. As we were told by the FBI 6 weeks ago, they're in all 50 states. He said 49, actually. And they're ready to strike. There are cells all over the country. We learned that there are cells all over the country. Right after he gave that speech, Obama banned the FBI director from the White House's anti-terrorism conference. Instead, he had Muslims there. That shows you who Obama is and what side he's on. But nevertheless, the FBI director warned us this would happen, and it just happened. And by the way, who stopped him? Was it the FBI armed to the teeth? No. Was it the DHS? No. Nothing. Zero. ATF? Nothing. They're only good for arresting white women who go through a red light or putting you in jail if you protest something a little too loudly. But they didn't stop the Muslims in the car. They got there. Who stopped them? Two off-duty officers. An off-duty Texas traffic officer shot him in the head. Could you imagine the presence of mind of that traffic officer? Machine guns are blazing at you. Your partner shot in the foot, and you have the presence of mind to pull your gun, aim your gun, take careful aim, fire's coming at you, not blink, shoot him in the head, both of them, and kill them. That guy, if we had a legitimate president, would be in the White House. Hey, if I was in charge, I'd have him in the White House tonight, holding him up as a role model, saying this is America. This is a real American hero. And more of you need to learn how to use guns to defend yourself against the enemy within. That's what should be going on today. Instead, oh, he was bad. Pamela Geller's bad. You provoked him, blah, blah, blah. We get that. So this is a very good topic today. And free speech is the issue, and I know an awful lot about it. Because despite what you hear from the Rush cartel, I am the only member of the American media banned from entering Britain for things I allegedly said. And no one has come to my aid. Not one of the Rush cartel ever came to my aid. In fact, some of them attacked me. And they pose as a freedom and constitutionalist. Meanwhile, they attacked me and said I deserved it. If you could believe this. Just check your history. You'll find out that I'm telling you the truth. So I'm not playing the martyr. I'm just telling you I understand what freedom of speech means and the price you have to pay for it. And I think it's a miracle that I'm on the radio, incidentally. I think it's God's hand altogether. With all the impediments that have been in my way, the legal fights and the this and the that, and being trapped in contracts that were illegal, I'm still here. It was God's will that I'm here, and there's a reason for it. And I believe the reason is that I'm playing a very critical role in alerting America to the danger they are in and trying to teach you to stand up and fight them. That's all. It's that simple. Either we all stand together or we all fall together. And right now we are surrounded by I'm calling them a progressive Islamist government. That's what I call the Obama administration. My definition. A progressive Islamist regime. No one has actually defined them as such, but that's what I think they are. That's how they look like, what they look like to me. And we have to fight against them at every turn. Notice the Republicans have said nothing about this. Zero. Instead, John Boehner, the drunk phony, came out today and said, listen to this. He had the nerve to say that Hillary Clinton shouldn't stand in Obama's way for a trade agreement with Asia. I swear to God. See, the Republican Party stands for only one thing. You know what that is? Business, 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 and business interests. Nothing else. They care nothing about social issues. Nothing. Zero. They're only good for business issues. Only if you're a globalist. And if you believe in free trade with Asia, then you ought to sign up with John Boehner, which will further erode our jobs and factories and ship more factories out of the country and more jobs out of the country. That's John Boehner for you. Lower cost, lower cost, lower cost, lower cost, until every city looks like Baltimore, until all the blue-collar jobs are gone, until all the little factories are gone. I read an interesting article. Hold on, I got to get it for you. I got to get it. Here it is, right here. I'm not going to have a time to go into it. Of all places, it was on CNN. Lord of the Flies comes to Baltimore by a black man named John Blake. Very long article, but very well written. And he talks about black men, older men who used to sit on their front porches in Baltimore. And they'd sit on the porch at night. They'd watch the Baltimore Orioles, watch TV, retired steel workers, longshoremen. And they would watch the streets. these old black men would watch the streets, and they're not here anymore. He said they're all gone. So the reporter goes and asks a 28-year-old guy about the absence of older black men, and he says, "This is old here," he said, pointing to himself. "There ain't no more old heads anymore. Where you been? They got big numbers, or they in pine boxes?" That meant long prison sentences or death. And so he writes a long article about where did the older black men go. He grew up in a family where the father worked in the Domino sugar plant and taught him what hard work was and loved his job. He's proud of his hard work. He's proud that he sweat. And he used to take this young black man, when he was a kid, to the tobacco fields in the summer to teach him what hard work was. Would you believe this? And the article is worth reading. It's a fabulous article because he said there are no working men left in Baltimore. Why? The factories were shipped out of Baltimore. The blue-collar jobs were shipped out of Baltimore by the government. Mr. Shields worked as a steel rigger at Sparrows Point in the Inner Harbor. Other black men worked at the Domino sugar plant. He said his father was a merchant marine who sailed out of the harbor. These were well-paying jobs with strong unions that fought for good benefits and united black, brown, and white working-class people. And they helped men like Walter Boyd sit on their front porch when they got older and keep the neighborhood under control. But they're gone now. These blue-collar jobs that built the black middle class of Baltimore are gone. Even the neighborhood businesses that he said remembered from his youth, ice cream factory, milk company, shuttered and gone. Where are they? They're gone because the politicians wanted lower costs. The politicians who are greedy in a way you could never imagine, and just lobbyists for greedier men than them, closed the factories and shipped out the jobs. And so the city became hollowed out. There were no jobs whatsoever. And he said, I hear about welfare queens and the culture of poverty. But he said there was nothing for them to do. There are no jobs, no factories for them to work in. And that's why you have large numbers of so-called disenfranchised youth. There are no men to teach them the right way, and there are no jobs for them. And that's why he wrote Lord of the Flies Comes to Baltimore. And it's based upon that great novel of its time, entitled Lord of the Flies, written in '54 by the English author William Golding, which describes what happens to a group of upper-class English schoolboys when their plane crash lands on a deserted island and all the adults are killed. The kids who are left try to build a society of their own, but with no adult guidance, they descend into tribalism and savagery. Baltimore circa 2015. Detroit circa 2015. Oakland, California circa 2015. Your city circa 2015. And now, in addition to that, we have jihadis amongst us, hiding as law-abiding members of Muslim communities, hiding as members of mosques, ready to strike. They're everywhere in this country. And don't think the FBI doesn't know who they are. This guy was on their watch list for years. Why didn't they arrest him preemptively? Why did they not go into his apartment in Phoenix, Arizona with a warrant? There was sufficient cause for a warrant. Why did they not do it? Why didn't they break into his apartment last week and take away his AK-47 and his body armor? Why was he allowed to buy a body armor? Why was he allowed to buy an AK-47 if he was on a watch list? Where did he get the gun from? What did he learn in the mosque? Who was his imam? Who else is in the mosque there ready to strike? These are the questions the federal government is no doubt asking after the fact. They should have asked it before the fact. Okay, let's go to a quick caller, then break, then back to you. KMAJ Radio. Bernie, you're up on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Dr. Savage. I agree with you 100%. I just wanted to remind everybody about the Supreme Court decision on freedom of speech against the Westboro Baptist, or for the Westboro Baptist Church, and protesting the veterans' funerals with the flags up.
You mean with that vile pastor who said the horrible things about gays at the funerals of dead soldiers?
Exactly. Fred Phelps. He died, though, too.
Yeah, well, but he used to say the most horribly provocative things at the funerals of dead soldiers. It offended everybody.
Well, he did. You should see some of the signs they put out when they do it. I rode with Patriot Guard and stopped some of those things and blocked them. But it was pretty
right. But you're saying he had the right under American law to do these vile things, and so did Pamela Geller have the right, no matter how provocative, right?
Exactly.
Well, you're right. That's what I say. No matter how offensive this event may have been, she was protected by the First Amendment. I'm sending you a free copy of my forthcoming novel out next week, Countdown to Mecca. When I come back, I'll take your calls right here on the Savage Nation. Be here or be nowhere.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Hey, our Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust for wealth insurance, gold and silver. Call 800-BUYCOIN. Well, there's a lot of lessons from last night's events in Texas. And we're living in very dark times, and they're getting darker yet. Not only riots in the cities provoked by the federal government, but Islamists hiding in the wings, waiting to strike, as we saw last night. And it's only those of us who are going to stand up and speak out about it who can save the nation. It's that simple. Believe it or not, you have the power to speak out about this. And don't take the position, oh, she provoked them. Yeah, of course she provoked them. That's right, she provoked them. She wanted you to see who they really are. That's all. So today it's cartoons. And the government still won't call it, by the way, a terrorist attack. Muslims, Quran, go to heaven, machine guns. No, but still not a terrorist attack. I guess it's a cartoon place violence. I guess according to the new Attorney General, Mrs. Lynch, Loretta Lynch, this will be called cartoon place violence. That's right. That's what it'll be. Cartoon place violence. KKOB Radio up in KKOB. Interesting. Mike, welcome. Fire away. We have less than 2 minutes.
Oh, Mr. Savage. Thank you.
Mike, make your point. Mike, please. We have 2 minutes. Make your point, please.
Yeah, the Bill of Rights was taken. All these taken from the English Bill of Rights. The English have it correct. It was for Parliament. Freedom of speech. It should be. Everybody doesn't have that right.
It should only be for the politicians, not for us, we the peasants.
Well,
and what? And the government should be able to have guns, and we shouldn't?
Well, the second is for us. The Second Amendment is for us, but the Bill of
Oh, I see. So we should be dummies and keep our mouths shut, according to you.
No.
Well, that's what you just said. We're not entitled to the First Amendment protections. That's only for government representatives. That's what you're saying. That's ridiculous. That's not at all what the Constitution says. The Bill of Rights, rather. It means all of us, and that includes all of us. And that includes us, we the people. That's as simple as that. I don't have any brilliant way to end the program. It's been 3 hours of fire. Just fire raging from me. I've been up since early in the morning. I was on the Alex Jones show this morning. Did an hour of television, 3 hours of radio. I could do another 3 hours of radio. Why? Where do I get the energy from? My friend Brian Sussman of KSFL Radio just sent me a note, and he said, Michael, as Mordecai said to Esther, you, Michael Savage, are on the radio, quote, for such a time as this. He said, I believe God has granted you the privilege of speaking the truth during this darkening hour. Brian, we all want to believe that we have a special role to play in these darkening times. And the fact of the matter is, with freedom of speech, we all do have a special role to play in these darkening times. Everyone must speak out. Good night and God bless America.